Hello everyone and welcome back to Canadian King Coins. In today's video I'll be going over the coinage of Newfoundland. Now I know what you're thinking, isn't Newfoundland part of Canada? Why would it have its own coins? But what a lot of people don't realize is that Newfoundland is actually Canada's newest province, only joining Confederation in 1949. Before that it was its own independent dominion, even fighting alongside the British and Canadians during both World Wars. Newfoundland's first coinage came after the colony adopted the decimal system in 1863 and began issuing 1, 5, 10, and 20-cent pieces in 1865. I have a penny from 1865, but just like on Canadian coins, Victorian silver is very expensive today. As you can see here, the reverse features St. Edward's crown, surrounded by a wreath of pitcher plant and oak leaves, and the words 1 cent Newfoundland and the date. The obverse features a portrait of Queen Victoria, never used on Canadian coins, that was previously used on certain British coins. 1-cent coins were issued every few years without any design changes until Queen Victoria's death in 1901, and her son, now Edward VII, first appeared on the next issue in 1904. Also changed on the design was the replacing of St. Edward's crown out for the imperial state crown on the reverse. King Edward VII died in 1910, leaving his son to become King George V. He first appeared on the 1913 issue, as you can see here. Now, Newfoundland, of course, didn't have as large of a coin production as Canada did, so when Canada changed to a small cent in 1920 to save on copper, Newfoundland didn't feel as compelled to do the same, instead keeping the large cent all the way until the death of King George V in 1936. After the brief reign and subsequent abdication of King Edward VIII in 1936, the new king, George VI, would first appear on the next penny in 1938, which now had a complete overhaul, now the same size as American and Canadian pennies. The reverse featured a pitcher plant native to Newfoundland. The obverse featured a crowned portrait of the king, very different from the Canadian portrait. Let me bring that back over here. The last penny for Newfoundland was issued in 1947, as the province would then vote to join Canada in 1949. Now onto the silver coins. I've only got one 5-cent piece from 1945 in beautiful condition. So you can see again the crown portrait of George VI. Same size as the silver Canadian 5-cent coins from before 1922. For the 10-cent pieces, I've got a Victorian one from 1894, and also the last year of issue, from 1947. Here you can see the design change that occurred on the silver coins after Victoria's death in 1901. Newfoundland, like Canada, also started out using 20-cent pieces instead of 25, except Newfoundland used them all the way from 1865 until 1912. But because of the constant confusion between Canadian 25-cent and Newfoundland 20-cent coins, the latter was discontinued, and 25-cent pieces were struck instead for 1917 and 1919. After 1919, only 1, 5, and 10-cent pieces were struck. The first 50-cent pieces were struck for Newfoundland in 1870, the same year as Canada, and the only Victorian one I have is this 1899. One of my favorite coins. After Victoria's death and the few issues during the reign of Edward VII, the last issue of the 50-cent piece came in 1919, and here I have the 1917 issue. Again, you can see the design change happened after Victorian silver. Here's the obverse. The obverse on most of the silver coins is exactly the same as would be on Canadian coins. Newfoundland also had a $2 circulating gold coin from 1865 to 1888, which I of course do not have an example of, as they can go for up to $25,000 today. So there you have it. The great history of the colony, dominion, then province of Newfoundland's coins. Some of the more niche Canadian-related coins. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like this in the future, consider subscribing or check out some of the other videos I have on my channel that showcase all sorts of Canadian coins. And as always, have a great day.